Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
Where is everybody?
A few minutes early. We're live, Sean. We've been having some glitches with the Zoom, so we just wanted to make sure we went live a little bit earlier.
No worries.
Hi, Liz.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Liz.
Hello, hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ken.
Hope everyone had an enjoyable 3-day weekend.
Not too bad.
Okay.
Got a lot of work done.
Excellent. Something about budgets or something, I think. Isn't that coming up?
Sure is.
Minor.
I hadn't heard.
All right, I don't see.
Yeah, Tom is on his way in.
I was gonna say,
There we
let's see.
go.
Change my view. Are you there, Tom? There he is. All right, well, it is 6 o'clock. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Are we live, John?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I hereby call to order the, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. The Budget Committee meeting. And all members are present. And so I think we'll just jump right in and start off with Ms. Norton.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome, Tom, to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting.
That's right. It's Tom's first.
Yeah, it is his first meeting. Before you is a memorandum as well as a projection sheet. Typically, this is what I produce for each of the Budget and Finance Committee meetings, as well as once it's passed by. You can't hear me?
I can hear you, Dawn.
I can hear you.
Tom, try the volume on your side. Sometimes we've been doing this a long time, so we've learned all the tricks. And if you need to, you can log off and log back on, or we can have John Mansfield. Oh, hang on. He can't hear me. Duh. Hang on a sec. Let me see if I can use the chat feature. Dawn, do you have the rights to see the chat feature there or no?
I believe we
Yeah.
have that turned off.
Oh, well. Let me,
Start a group chat with me and he and I and you, and then I can take over from there.
yeah, I don't have his cell phone on my. Give me a minute. We need him for a quorum too, so. He logged off.
I took him out and I'm bringing him back in to see if that does anything.
Okay.
Hi, Tom. Can you hear us now?
He's coming in a second time, so we'll see.
Can you hear us, Tom? Now you're on mute this time. I think you said you can hear us.
Can you hear me now?
We can, perfect.
Perfect. So I'm going to log off this other one. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Perfect. We just can't see you. So if needed, you can be in we can have two Tom Collins, one where we can see you and one where we can hear you. There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
Great. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you.
And Dawn did say that a little while ago.
Oh, thank
So I
you.
was welcoming you to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Typically for the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, I present a memorandum of kind of where we stand and what our expectations are for the rest of the fiscal year, where some areas that could overextend our budget or cause us a little bit of savings. I try to bring to light any areas that are of concern that we're watching. At this point in time, we're halfway through our fiscal year at the end of December. We've have obligated or expended 97,700,000 of our 102 million budget, which represents approximately 95.6% of the appropriation. At this time, excess cost reimbursement is not part of the numbers. We do file our first excess cost reimbursement with the state. If you look within the budget itself, and this is something that we'll go over more both with the special services presentation as well as the budget presentation this coming Saturday. Excess costs is a negative 1.4 million within our budget. We need the state to reimburse us $1.4 million in order to make the special education budget whole. So when the state doesn't give us enough revenue, they need to make it up within their budget. So it is something that we watch. At this time, we're anticipating that all of our salaries are within budget. All of our medical benefits will be within budget. All other benefits, employee benefits are tracking within budget, FICA and Medicare as well. And at this time, we have paid out 14 pay periods out of 26, 26.1 if you include the teacher's balloon payment. Special education, as I had just mentioned, we are watching the $1.4 million with the state. Our first filing with the state is December. Our second filing is in March. We typically will receive our first revenue back from them in February. So we have a little bit of time before we see that. Transportation at this time is still tracking within budget. We don't have any concerns with that. And our energy, we have locked in our electric rate through November 2022 at a rate of 0.10690 kilowatts. And additionally, we have successfully locked in an oil bid at 2.4477 per gallon, and that is through the end of June 2022. At the end of the report, there's some areas that we could see our budget in a positive way, or we could see some negative effect on that. And at this time, we are predicting that we will spend all of our budget. The projections indicate that it gives you an idea of what our budget is by large grouping. And this grouping also follows similar to what the budget book would follow. So it's the salaries, coaches, which is new. We used to have our athletics in a separate fund. Now it's part of the general fund. Medical benefits. And then we get into all of the individual cost centers, which are the schools. So the elementary schools, the middle schools, the high school, the athletics is in there now, special education, and then the other cost centers at central office follow. And at this time, if we look at it, you can see that this is the budget for 21-22. We've had a small adjustment in there between a couple of accounts, certified salaries and the high school, or certified substitutes, sorry, in the high school. That all budget transfers come to this committee first and then go to the full board for approval. So you can see the adjusted budget, the total expenditures through the end of the report date, which is the end of December, any encumbrances that we have out there that we anticipate spending down, and then the additional spend column. And this early in the year, we tend to always put all of our funds in because we anticipate that we'll be spending all of our funds. As we get closer to the end of the fiscal year, you'll see that that additional spend column may vary just a little bit. Any questions?
Anyone on the committee have any questions? All right, Dawn.
Okay, now for the fun part. Transfers. These are the transfers that have occurred since we last met. Our last meeting was in October, so there was one October that occurred after our meeting, and then the rest of them are December. That's it, just October and December. One November, and then the rest are December. On the sheet, we have technology in October that had a request of transfer of $10,000. And this was to cover social media services and additional student required curriculum technology purchases. This line was in within budget, and then there was some additional requests that occurred for curriculum needs that caused it to go over. And so he did a transfer in order to make sure that he could cover the cost of the rest of his expenses throughout the fiscal year.
Just to add some clarity to the social media piece, thanks, Dawn, is what that really is you may remember that through our webmaster platform, we also have my Instagram, but there's also one that's called Ridgefield Public Schools. That's still through webmaster, but then we have RPS News that was also part of our webmaster. We cut out the middleman, and we now that individual is now paid through us based on the number of hours that we use her for, and it's limited to the needs of the district. So that's a shift from the budget year prior to this one. So when we say social media, it encompasses really some of the social media for sure. The content goes to webmasters, but then our RPS News, for example, comes from us paying that person directly, as opposed to us paying an additional fee through webmasters for that work, that service. So we just cut out the middleman, and now we hired that person on a per diem basis.
In November, athletics, I think everything except for two, one high school and one special education requests are all athletics. In November, the athletic requested $155 shift to cover materials boys ice hockey, and that was because they had additional need for some equipment and materials for the hockey team. They used football helmet money. What occurred back in prior to this fiscal year is they were able to purchase all their football helmets that they needed for replacement on the football team with prior year money. So this year's budgeted money for football helmets was available. So they used that in order to take care of some expenses that occurred through the fall season. If you see girls volleyball, they are requesting a purchase service, request from purchase service to office supplies. And this is additional funds to cover the cost of rewards and certificates for volleyball. The volleyball funds were available because they did not need them for their referees through the end of the through the end of the fall season. But they did need to purchase additional awards and certificates, and so they used the request to transfer those funds. Social services, special services had a request of $58,000 from salaries nurses to outside contracted services. And the reason for that request was because they have a student who pops in and out of district and needs a one-on-one nursing individual to be with that student. She's not always in district. She's sometimes in and sometimes out. So they felt that using a purchase service versus trying to find a full-time employee was more beneficial for that particular student. Then the high school has a request of $3,800. Their request is because they had additional students join, or they had to cover tuition for additional students than they anticipated when they budgeted for the RCA program. The RCA program, we are responsible for $2,700 of that program. The state sets the tuition for that school. The state covers a little more than $5,000 per student. And then we need to cover any other, the $2,700 per student of just our district. And the rest of it is all a transfer from one fall sport to another. Most of it's out of football to transportation. And the reason there was is because the Tiger Hollow fields were not ready. And so in order for them to play what would have been home games, they had to do those games at other fields, and they needed transportation for the away games to compensate for that. Any questions on any of the transfers?
Just a quick one. Refresh my memory on what RCA actually is.
The
believe
Regional
that's-
Center for the Arts. It's a magnet school.
Gotcha.
I had a quick question about the invoices. So for the because we didn't play football in December, that I recall. So why the lag on those invoices?
On the purchase of the helmets, or why they had funds left over, Ken? Is that what you're? Mainly the money, mainly what they were using, they used a lot of the football helmet money to cover transportation costs and other costs for the other sports, the fall sports that they needed in order to transport to other fields for games that they couldn't play at Tiger Hollow. And the reason they had the money available for the helmets is because they used prior year money to purchase the helmets that were required. I believe Dane had mentioned before in one of his presentations that the helmets have a certain life to them, and then they needed to replace a lot of the helmets. They had a helmet schedule of replacement. And so he had in his budget the purchase of helmets in order to keep replacing old helmets or helmets that had aged out for the safety reasons.
You're on mute, Ken.
Sorry, the 3,000. Thanks, Sean. The $3,000 looks like it came from purchase services rather than materials, which is what I think the others came from.
The 3,000 purchase service football to the transportation football.
Yeah.
He indicated that, well, the purchase services, purchase service football was the purchase service for the helmets.
I thought those were materials football fall.
You're correct. You're correct. Purchase service football. Let me see if he has specific. 1 second. So due to field scheduling issues, football program, the funds budgeted in purchase services. Other purchase services were budgeted there for officials, EMTs, and police for home games, and that was not needed because there were not the home games that they anticipated when they budgeted for it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My apologies.
So that narrative just will need to change, John, in that last box.
Yep, got it.
Thanks, Ken.
Are there any other questions from the committee? All right. I do believe, is there anything else you wanted to discuss with us, Dawn, or you, Dr. De Silva?
Not tonight.
Yeah.
Plenty for Saturday and Monday and maybe Tuesday.
Yeah, maybe it's gonna be busy from here on out. Just a little heads up, Tom. They're not all going to be as gentle as this meeting was. So,
I have a,
oh yeah, go ahead, Tom.
yeah, I have a rookie question, so I apologize. So in terms of Saturday, this is remote?
Saturday is a remote day. And part of the reason primarily, well, there's two reasons. One, and we don't have, as you know, the access in the new boardroom. But secondly, it's a pretty long meeting, so that we could take advantage of having folks stream in when they want to stream in and out, rather than having to physically come for, let's say, the elementary class centers and then come back for the high school class center. So there's two advantages, but ultimately the primary reason is because we don't have the technology ready and set up in our boardroom. But it is a virtual meeting all day. 8:45 to about 4-ish. We have a break for lunch and some maybe bathroom breaks here and there, but that's about it.
And it's open to the public, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the greater advantage, Tom, just while we're on that topic, is like I said before, is that, well, actually, I haven't really experienced it here, but in the past there were meetings. Each cost center would come to a evening Board of Education meeting. So you'd come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, perhaps even Friday, and they would all present over a course of a couple weeks. So instead, we shifted that model and have all of them present on one day. So it provides like just a greater view of the district as a whole and connects the dots for folks. It also, I think for those individuals that want to have the luxury of seeing them all, they get to now do it from their home. I don't know if that'll continue in the future, but at least we have the advantage of doing that now.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So I think that brings us to the end of our budget committee meeting for January 18th. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Sean, second. Would it Tom second?
Sure.
All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank
All
you.
right. All
See you
right.
guys Saturday.
I'll see some of you later and the rest on Saturday.
See you in a little bit.
Yeah.